Okay, we're calling the Board of Health meeting on January 12th at 6 p.m. by Zoom to order. In attendance are Jonathan Sanborn and Matt Gagner and Kathleen Walker. So the meeting is called to order. I will accept a motion to accept the prior meeting minutes for December 22nd.
I'll make a motion to accept the prior meeting minutes of December.
Thank you.
I will second that. I will second that motion.
For the prior meeting minutes?
Yeah.
Correct.
I'm sorry, I'm being silly. Okay, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
and the motion carries and the minutes are accepted. So old business, Berry Corner Road, we wanted to get the town attorney to give us advice on the deed, and I haven't heard back anything myself. Jim didn't tell me anything about it that I have any recollection of it. Do either one of you know anything about it as yet?
No.
Okay, so should we table it to the next meeting and we'll try to follow up on that?
Sure.
I make a motion that we table the Berry Corner Road conversation till our next meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and Cemetery Gould Road, on the update on hiring Gary Magnuson, we were able, as you both, I'm sure know, to get an estimate for Gary and $5,000, which is high, but at least it'll cover us. And that amount was approved. Jim got it in the budget and it has been approved. So we're good to go with that.
Good.
So that's a good thing.
That's great. I think if you looked at the proposal, it gave like a 6-month period or something like that. I don't anticipate us going through that dollar value in the time that he had. It was just if it gets hot and heavy, or he may need to do a little extra research to get himself caught up to speed. But I think that's going to be plenty of money for what we need, and I think I'm glad we did that.
Yeah. I am too, and I appreciate both of you for bringing it forward. And to that end, we got a letter from DEP, and just looking for it here. Okay, from Mark Baldy, and I sent you the letter. I think you got a copy of the letter, but let me just summarize what it said, okay?
Sure.
Said attached is a letter to ExxonMobil requesting them to revise their public involvement plan, that's the PIP, from the Mass Turnpike Service Area 6W to improve communication and provide opportunity for residents and municipal office officials to give their feedback. The letter calls for a submittal of a revised draft PIP by February 15th, 2021, and a public meeting by ExxonMobil to present the draft PIP for comments by March 15th. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Now, the letter is quite lengthy, and I can read it if you want, or I believe you do have a copy of it.
Yeah, I read it, Kathleen. I'm all set with it.
Okay, Matt?
I as well read it. I'm all set with it. And you know what? The ball is rolling. We've done what we can, and now we see where the ball drops because you know, we've got it back on the table right up in front. So let's see where it goes and how many people attend and where it all ends up. But yeah, the ball's rolling. No one's waiting for us to do anything.
Yep. I'm also delighted with the movement of it. And so he said he expected the draft PIP by February 15th. So should we table this till then, or what are your thoughts? John?
Well, you can keep it on the agenda in case there's anything new or anybody has anything to add, especially Jim when he's able to come back.
Okay.
But other than that, I just don't want to lose sight of it.
Okay, okay, so we'll just, if that's okay with you, Matt, we'll just keep it on the agenda.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be tabled. I just think it's going to be ongoing business for a little while here. And, yeah, perfect.
Okay, okay, great. So that's a big relief to all of us, I'm sure. Okay, next on the agenda is an update from John about well testing for contaminants to every house, transfer of ownership. We tabled that from the last meeting. John?
Yeah, I did a little more research and I'm not able to come up with super specific testing and especially the cost, because I don't want this to be some sort of a cost burden for anybody who's selling the house or trying to pass the cost along to the buyers, whoever. I was hoping that I could come up with, a number of testing facilities with just we'll test for petrochemicals for $80, $120 or something. And I think it exists out there, but it's just, I would hope that we could come up with something that would be relatively inexpensive, that would cover, I don't even know if it would be the whole town for anybody with a well or not, but my concern is that with so much contamination going on in so many different areas of the town and the way that it's migrated, it would just be, I would think, a nice cautionary thing to do so that somebody's not moving into a house and they find out, oh my gosh, I've got all these issues.
Right, yeah. I wondered, John, if you could contact Gary Magnuson, because his company does that kind of testing, and ask him for what he would recommend should be tested for and how much that test would cost.
Sure. And one thing I didn't say before, Kathleen, was that I know that MTBE is prevalent with the ExxonMobil spill that is affecting some of our schools and the center of town. But I believe, and again, I can find out from Gary, I think if you've got that, you've probably also got some petrochemicals in there that a water quality test that's looking for that would show. So let me go ahead and I'll go ahead and contact Gary and I'll follow up in the next meeting or two.
Okay, so Matt, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I do think the dollar value is in the realm of what John was saying. I think it's a couple $100. Not going to be a burden on anybody buying or selling a house. No one's going to like it, but at the end of the day, I think our hearts are in the right spot. I do think if we're going to go forward with that, we would have to do the entire town. If not, we'd have to try and create a zone where you would and where you wouldn't. And I just think it would be a lot of work. And especially if a plume's going to move and migrate anyways, it might all be for nothing. So if we were going to and do this for the testing, I would personally say, let's just do the whole town and not try and zone it out in any particular area.
Yeah, you're probably right, Matt, because of the way that these things move. And even though we do have some major sites of contamination that have been identified and the plumes have been identified, that's not to say that somebody hasn't moved in and a lot's been cleared and somebody 200 or 300 yards down the road didn't change their oil on their truck several times and just throw the waste oil into the ground, and now it's contaminating that one well. So you just don't know. And I think it's cheap insurance for the health of everybody concerned.
Yeah, I would agree. I just had my chimney swept and that cost over $600, but it saves me from a possible chimney fire. I had 3 chimneys, so.
Oh, that's why. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had mine done. I had 2 of them done. I think it was coming up on rush season, like September, October. and the guy had to charge me a little extra. So I think it was $250 for my 2 flues.
I'm gonna
I
find your
went for
guy.
stoves.
Oh, no. But, well, we hadn't had ours done in 5 years, but it's the same idea. You know, you want to make sure you're being proactive with the
Right.
place that you live in, and certainly the water that you drink. So, so I agree with both of you. So you'll get back to us on that, John?
Yeah, I will. I'll contact Gary and try to just get a little more information. And look who's joined us.
Yeah, wow. The married couple. I love that picture, Andrea. So, okay, so well, this kind of ties into the next item on the agenda, the Stony Brook Wells. Is there anything that we should be doing for that at this point?
Through the chair.
Yeah,
So personally, I don't think there's anything we can be doing about it other than the fact that we've brought this up. We have the public involvement ball rolling. And so those folks up at Stony Brook, they would be invited to get on that PIP, and that may swing the focus their way a little bit, but it is definitely on the radar. So I don't feel as though we're leaving them out by any means. I do think that as Cemetery Road and Gould Road unfolds, Stony Brook, Jones Road, Borkham Road, all of those areas are going to kind of be in the lookout.
okay. So, so do we need to keep this issue on the agenda in particular?
I would think so.
Or is it tied
We
in?
could.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Matt or John.
I'm sorry. We could change the language of Cemetery Road and Gould Road and just say Cemetery Road, Gould Road, and surrounding neighborhoods or something like that, and then we're on there and it's a reminder to us.
Okay, in addition to what John's research is going to tell us?
And there may be 2 separate issues. I mean, not totally separate, but I don't think we want to.
Okay, so we'll keep them separate on the agenda,
Yeah.
keep them going. All right, so we had a couple of people just joining us, Nancy Pecor and Brian Beck. And Brian and Nancy, I just wanted to, we've already covered this, but I'm gonna go back really quickly because one of us has to leave. But we got a letter from DEP, and what it says is that, let me just find it again. This is from Mark Baldy, and this is the summary of the letter. Attaches a letter to ExxonMobil requesting them to revise their public involvement plan for the Mass Turnpike Service Area 6W to improve communication and provide opportunity for residents and municipal officials to give their feedback. The letter calls for a submittal of a revised draft PIP by February 15th and a public meeting by ExxonMobil to present the draft PIP for comments by March 15th. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. So, it looks like DEP is moving along with this, which is we're very appreciative of, and hopefully we'll have something resolved in March. Did you want to ask any questions about that before we move on, Brian or Nancy? Brian, you're muted.
Yeah, this is Brian. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of curious, I'm hoping that this will get some answers to us before, we have further issues with this water stuff. I appreciate what Mark's doing. If any of us that are impacted by this attempted to sell our properties right now, we would not be able to do that. Not with a clean conscience anyways. So it's kind of really important that we get this kind of squared away pretty quickly, just so that we have that peace of mind. and that we've got things where they need to be. Because with crappy water, none of us are, we're sitting on a property that's not viable.
Yep,
And that doesn't make me feel very good at all.
no,
And I know you recognized that the last meeting, and that's important that we do something about it, because I don't feel real good.
and that's completely understandable, Brian.
Through the chair.
Nat,
Yeah. So Brian, I just want to say out loud, as a board, it's really up to us to, the public health and safety. So we think, we know there's a problem over there with the drinking water. It's up to us to make the residents in our community aware of it and try and resolve it. With that being said, I don't think this is going to be speedy at all. It's a very challenging and uphill battle. We're basically pushing the cart through the mud, up the hill, and what it takes to get it done is involvement with yourself, your neighbors, your communities, where the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So, our board is on it. We are doing the very best we can, and we have a lot of say and a lot of pull with DEP to actually get us to this point. But we cannot do this alone. So if you see your neighbors or talk to them, it would be helpful as a cause to have them get involved in this, because we saw it up on the other side of town. There was, 30, 40, 50 people coming to our meetings. We were having letters written to us, and it was a real big problem, and that was resolved relatively quickly. So I'm grateful that you're on the meeting. I know that, I know it affects your house, your values of your house, and all of that, and I understand the big picture, but without help from the neighborhoods, we're really going to be challenged here. So just wanted to say that out loud.
Yep. Well, I think some of that's on the town too, to make contact with some of the other neighbors and do a little bit more there as well. I know my neighbors that are on the call tonight, we'll do our part, but it's also going to take the town to step up and contact these other folks that are going to be impacted by this problem. It's just a matter of when, not if.
well, we can certainly put it out there that it will be on the agenda. We voted earlier to keep it on the agenda every single meeting. So, but we won't know anything until the middle of February, which is
Right.
just about a
No, I
month.
appreciate that.
And we will try to get it out there that this is on the agenda. The other thing that we had talked about today in the office was making this meeting live streamed. So Andrea and Kim are going to look into with Andrew, with the town administrator, to having this meeting live streamed. Like the selectmen's meeting is live streamed, and so is the school committee and some other meetings. So that way you can watch the meeting afterwards on YouTube also, if you can't see it, when you, like right now. Also, this meeting right now is being recorded, so that should be available also if anybody wants it.
Hey, Kathleen, this is Brian again. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I sent you that video the other day that I was just kind of searching around and found that video on YouTube about how bad the water is in Charlton. And I just wondered if your fellow committee members were aware that video was out there.
Well, I'm gonna, if I haven't forwarded to them already, I know I've forwarded to the sustainability committee, but I will forward it to John and Matt. They've probably already seen it, but in case they haven't. But that might be something that that we could put on the website too, for other people to see. It's quite a good video.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and thank you for sending that to me.
Through the chair.
Yep, Matt. So
Kathleen, I do agree with Brian. is all of us that know about it, and those that don't know about it, don't know about it. I mean, black and white. I would like to propose that our board, does a mailing to those potentially affected residents in those neighborhoods, including Jones, Borkham, Stony Brook, the potential area up there, or B, have somebody from our office, maybe we could get a volunteer, or I don't want to say Jim, but and put a flyer out there on there for the awareness of this PIP meeting that we're going to have where it's going to be open to the public, because I hate to see anybody miss the bus on it and say, geez, I wasn't notified about it. It's going to be tough enough to get them there. And so I think we should be take strong action on that to let those neighborhoods know.
Okay, so Matt, what you're suggesting is from my perspective, a letter would be more attention getting to everybody on those streets than a flyer, which they may miss. But John, what are your thoughts?
I think a letter with whatever information that we can provide, probably just on a half a page or so. You don't want to lose these folks while they're going through their mail after a hard day of work.
Okay. Okay, so Matt, do you want to make that into some kind of a motion?
Yeah, Kathleen, I make a motion that our board takes action to do a mailing to the suspected contaminated areas concerning Cemetery and Gould Road discussion. If a mailing, and I know we've run into problems with mailings in the past, if a mailing is not going to be suitable, I'd like to propose a door-to-door hand delivery or a personalized hand delivery of the mail, so those residents are aware of the PIP involvement meeting coming up.
Okay. Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second that, Kathleen.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll move ahead with that. Matt, thank you. And thank you, Brian. John?
Kathleen, before we move on, would it be appropriate to put Mark Baldy's letter out there on our website in case anybody is going on to the town website, to our Board of Health for information? I don't know. It's just it may be too much. It may be appropriate.
I'm just looking at the letter. I don't see why not, John. It's a lengthy letter, and it really explains it all. So I don't see any problem with that.
Okay.
So Andrea is on this call, and she'll be picking up these minutes, and I'm sure she can put that letter on the website if that's something that you want to do that also, Matt.
I'm on board.
Okay. All right, good. So, Matt, I know you have to leave. We've got a couple more things on here before you go. And is there anything else that anybody wants to say on this issue before we leave it? Okay. We get the COVID updates. Right now, we have 585 cases since the beginning of the year, as of yesterday. And we had 25 new calls in the last, new cases in the last 2 weeks. They range in age from 3 years old to 93 years old. And the only other thing, not much to say about that. It is what it is. But I was on the local Board of Health COVID-19 webinar today, and they're spending quite a bit of time talking about the vaccines and when they're coming. And there's a site you can go to, which we can publish. It's mass.gov/COVID vaccine. And it basically tells everybody when they're going to get the vaccine. So right now, all the first responders are being done this week, although in this area, they were done last week. We kind of got ahead of the game. And the vaccine is out there. It's just getting into people's arms that is the issue. So that is moving along actually faster in this area than it is in the rest of the state, or in some cases in the rest of the country. So that's a good thing. The other thing that I picked up from that webinar today was that even after you get vaccinated, you really still have to follow all the requirements. You still have to wear a mask. You still have to socially distance. You still have to stay 6 feet apart, because for a while anyway, you're not going to be, you could be a carrier. You probably won't get the vaccine, especially the virus, especially after you've had the second dose. But at the beginning anyway, you're gonna after the first shot, you're not gonna just miraculously have to give up all that stuff. So I think that's important to recognize. So that's all I have on that. John, do you have anything?
No.
Matt?
As a matter of fact, I do, Kathleen. It's regarding COVID itself, and I would just like to say our last meeting was a joint discussion with the school committee of whether or not to allow the children to attend the school. You were in the hot seat. You did an excellent job by yourself. Wish we could have done more. I was on some back. I don't even know how I was on there. I was a guest or somehow, but. So thank you for the information that you gave to that school committee. I will just publicly say that I am very disappointed in the school committee's decision to override 2 boards of health on that. I don't think it was appropriate for them to do it. They have their reasons, but you shouldn't put public health and safety before education, especially when it affects more than just the students. I understand the point was it wasn't affecting the students, but as a community, I think they made a poor decision, and I just wanted to publicly say that, and I did want to say I appreciate you as well as Jen sticking up for the cause.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Matt. It was very disappointing. John, did you want to add anything to that?
The one thing that Matt didn't say that was really disappointing, they didn't even bring it up for a vote. That was the double slap. Just,
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that was wrong of them. I can understand them disagreeing with us, but they should have voted on it.
Yeah.
So that is disappointing. And we did get a notice from the superintendent I think there were 29 cases, and I've been told that quite a bit of the administration and the teachers are out right now in quarantine, either that or with COVID. So adding that extra 2 weeks still doesn't like a big deal to me, but anyway, it's their call. And the only other thing I wanted to say is we could try to override them on this. I have looked at the letters that we have from our attorneys. The Board of Health attorney is not excited about it at all. The other attorney seemed to feel that we might prevail, but it's a long road and it's going to cost a lot of money. And I guess from my perspective, it wasn't worth going down that road. Although if we had, I think we would have prevailed and would have changed things for the whole state, but there we go. So if there's nothing else to say on that issue, on the COVID updates and the school updates, as far as the school updates are concerned, the governor came out with what he calls pool testing, where the schools can test 10 students at a time and every week and put it into a pool and look at that whole pool rather than do individual tests. Well, each student would be individually tested, but the results would be pooled, thereby saving money. So I think that's a good idea. I don't know if the schools are going to implement it or not, but it seems like a positive way to go to keep everybody tested all the time until everybody's vaccinated. Anything else on that, Matt or John?
No, not for me. I think Matt has to go, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I do have to go, Kathleen, but I specifically had a discussion with Jim about that, and it was my understanding that they were not testing the students themselves. So I read it as they were testing the students, and I called Jim and we talked about it, and I didn't think that was the case. So for myself, I think I need a little more clarity on what that program was.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's the governor's program, and whether the school adopts it or not, I don't know. But it was for students and teachers and administration, all of them. Matt, the other thing, we were going to talk about the budget, and we can put it off to the next meeting. But really quickly, Jim does the budget every single year, and he puts it in, and we don't see it. And I don't think that's fair to Jim. I mentioned it to him. He said, Kathleen, I'm all set with it. And there's no big changes. And you both got a copy of this year's budget. But I think it's a good idea for the board to know about the budget, know what's on it, and to formally, even though it may be a rubber stamp, but to formally approve it every year. So I just wanted to let you think about that and see if you wanted to do that, because that's a change in the way we've been doing it. So we can put it on for the next meeting if that's all right with you guys.
Kathleen?
Yeah,
I believe when you first came on the board, you brought that to our attention. And I kind of thought we were all on board with it at that point, saying, yeah, it's a vote. I thought by law it needed to be a vote. And so I'm in agreement with doing that.
okay. If John, what do you think?
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree.
All right, well, then we'll set it up for next year. That we'll get the budget probably in November when it's put together, or December. Vote on it, talk about it if we have to or not, and then send it to the town. Jim will keep doing what he does, which is a great job. I thought so too, Matt, but then I wasn't sure if I was right, so I figured, well, we'll let it go this year. So you both have copies of the budget anyway for this year, and it looks good to me. And I don't know if you want to take a formal vote on it now or whether it matters since it's already gone through.
I don't think we need to, but
Okay,
my opinion.
all right. All right. So
I'd rather do a fresh start for next year, because I don't know if I've seen the budget, but I haven't studied it enough to make a vote on it.
okay, well, it is gone to FinCom, so and it's pretty much almost identical to last year's, except for the $5,000 for Gary Magnuson. To I don't know if you heard that, Brian and Nancy and Kay, but we've hired Gary Magnuson we've appropriated $5,000 for him to oversee and help us to understand what's going on when DEP and ExxonMobil come back to us. And we've worked with Gary for many, many years, and we have a lot of trust for him. And rather than having us figure it all out, we'll be able to still do that, but we'll have Gary interpret it for us. So, yeah, Brian.
Kathleen,
That's great.
yeah. Oh, I remember you guys were talking about McClure Engineering or something. So, but I knew you were more comfortable with Gary. So, good.
Yeah. So, so that's good. So, is there anything else to come before the meeting at this time? We don't have Jim here. Yeah, Matt.
Kathleen, I just wanted to just say it again out loud. Brian, so we were discussing McClure Engineering, but the roles that Chris does as an engineer and the role that Gary Magnuson from CMG Environmental are different roles and different paths. So we're not duplicating it. And it's not really that we feel more comfortable with one over the other, but that they have different tasks. So that's why we went forward with it. Just just to clarify that, you know, there was nothing wrong with McClure. They just do a different scope of work.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thanks for clarifying that, Matt. So when do you want to meet again?
2 weeks is good for me.
2 weeks? Is that good for you, Matt?
Yes?
Okay, so that's the 26th. The 26th at 6 o'clock?
Sure.
Okay,
Perfect.
all right. Well, thank you all for coming, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Do you want to have me make a motion to adjourn the
Good
meeting?
idea. Good
All
idea.
right.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for
Thank-
coming.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.